Kim, and I'm back for another week of 10-minute tips for your relationships. 10 minutes. So we're back this week, and we just wanted to come in and share just a little bit about communication with our couples, because I know that, being at home for this extended period, we're struggling. We're struggling in our communication. We probably don't even want to talk to each other half the time because we're struggling so much with communication, and I know it. And we just wanted to share some interesting things that we've learned over the years about communication. We don't always get it right. Nope, we don't. But we do have some experience on how to deal with each other. And the thing about it is, you can always come back and say, you know what, I'm sorry, I blew it, I messed up, I shouldn't have said that. Okay? So I just want to start by asking a question. I want to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think communication is? What is it to you?
Well, good communication.
Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference.
Dialogue, not just mono, not just one way.
Right.
But also, because we've done this for a while now, is being a good listener.
Yes.
And not be preparing your answer, because sometimes we get caught up in trying to either defend ourselves or correct the person, and we're thinking about that, not even absorbing what the person's actually saying to you.
Right.
So you're so busy in defense mode.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to cover that later, but defense mode, that you're not actually listening. You're hearing, but you're not listening. You're not retaining what's actually being said or what the person's trying to say. And then even trying to interpret for them what they're trying to say.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, just listen, please listen.
Listen. And I totally agree with that. I think it's dialogue. I think the major part of communication is listening, really taking in what the other person is trying to say, effective listening. I also think good communication really is about not trying to figure out what you're going to say, as soon as the person starts talking, because then you're going to miss some really important information.
Or the other thing, body language too.
Oh my God, body language, yes.
You don't have to say anything, but your eyes, your look, your
demeanor,
body, disposition, everything just kind of tells where you really are.
Everything.
Yeah. Don't you believe me? Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Right, I'm convinced.
Exactly.
Right. So communication it's not a hard subject to define. I mean, it's basically talking, sharing, giving information, and that part of marriage sometimes just really it goes awry, if you will. It can go left if we don't nurture that part of our marriages, our relationships. So being a good communicator is extremely important in relationships, and not just marriages, but in all relationships.
Well, it's funny because when you said that to define it is not hard, I almost rebutted you right there. It's like, yes, it was like, oh, no, she's right. Because definition's not bad, defining it. So I guess I don't want to sound over preachery on this, but not just being a hearer, because instructions and defining is hearing, but being a doer.
Right.
To do it, to put it in action is a whole nother thing. So I capsulized and put it all in one. But you made it very plain that you're right. Defining is, we can all define stuff.
We can define it.
What does this mean? What does love mean? Oh, it means, but live it.
Yeah.
In your marriage for years.
Do it in this case. Do it is something completely different.
Exactly.
So how do we do it? How do we communicate? I think we already said what's important, but how do we do it?
I think like you and I have discovered that it's not a one size fits all, number one, because we all have different personalities where we come from. We come from two different type of households. My parents were very laid back in their communication and kind of, easygoing. Where your house, you even say it was more forceful. Your dad spoke up, spoke out. That's what it is. Bam. And it's not a bad thing. Neither style is good or bad. It's just what you were used to and what you were brought up in. Right. So then you being the oldest child, being the youngest, I'm trying to be heard. You were always heard, and it's almost like that, you find yourself doing that tango, that dance with each other, and it's like it carries over into your marriage because it's from childhood. It's not that, she's King Kong trying to beat me up and just trying to like dominate me or nothing like that. But I'm just saying, she has that older child mentality. I have the younger child mentality.
Right.
So if I'm not careful, I'll retreat back to what I know, what's comfortable for me.
Right.
And sometimes not be heard and then get frustrated and then blow my top. That's what I used to do, blow my top. Get to a point to where so much build up. Wow. She's like, whoa, I didn't know you felt that way. It's like, yeah, that's the way I feel,
Yes.
but I wasn't communicating.
Right.
Because my communication was different, where you pretty much put it out there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I know how she feels today, yesterday, and next week,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the how to do it really comes with practice. I know it sounds very clinical, that, oh, we have to practice it. Yeah, you do. You really do have to practice good communication.
Get material.
You have to read books. You have to Google. I mean, you have to do whatever it takes.
Chapman, is it? Chapman
to
has,
make 5 love languages.
Right.
But you need to do whatever it takes to make sure that you are instilling, good practices in your relationship, because it's just important that we do this on a continual basis, right? So let me go forward. So there are some things that we want to share with you today. I think are pretty good. I did some reading. I have a new book that I'm reading. It's on communication. I'm gonna share that with you. But there is an author. His name is John Gottman, and he's a psychologist, psychologist. But John Gottman, and he has written quite a few books on communication. And in his books, he talks about the 4 horsemen, okay, as it relates to communication.
Wow.
And so those 4 horsemen are criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. And these are pretty much the 4 things that really damage a marriage or a relationship as it relates to communication. So I just want to quickly go over them. We're not going to go into depth over them, but you can look them up and get the books.
We do another week on them because those are good to look at. But
yeah.
I want to bow out because I'm convicted by all 4 of them.
Okay, so number 1 is criticism. That's just simply being overly critical with your mate.
Wow.
He talks about how there's a difference between making a complaint and criticizing your mate. So those are 2 different things. And we can make a complaint. It's okay to make a complaint, to talk about something that you're not necessarily in agreement with or you didn't particularly care for. But it's a difference in doing that and just criticizing something your mate has said or done. Then number 2 is contempt. Okay. Now contempt, this is something that I hear a lot of couples talk about, how that person shows up or speaks to them or behaves as if they're better. We just talked about how we grew up differently, and it's easy to fall into contempt for your mate if, they grew up a different way. You could almost feel like, your way was better.
And early on we did that.
Right.
Honestly,
Early on we did that.
Yeah.
So, it was like, no, my way is better. No, your way is better. No, how about we just look at it as it was different.
And find a way to blend the 2.
Find a way to blend.
For us. Right.
Exactly. Number 3 is defensiveness. Okay, I think we're probably all guilty of this, being defensive. So somebody says, okay, or your mate says, you did this, you did that, and you become defensive, right? You deny the facts. Sometimes the facts are there. Facts, right? But you deny them because now you're defensive. You're defensive in what they've said. Maybe it was the way they said it. I don't know, sometimes. Anyway, number 4 is stonewalling, completely shutting down, withdrawing, even avoiding conversations. So one way people
it's
also...
It's usually a man's way of handling it.
Sometimes. And then, it usually is... another way of stonewalling is getting super busy.
Wow.
So that you can avoid or you have to avoid serious conversations. So, communication is a struggle. The struggle is real, especially now we're dealing with this whole COVID corona situation that we're all at home together. We're home for longer periods of time than we're used to. So, you know what? Give yourself a break. Give your mate a break. Just practice. Take your time. Practice doing it the right way.
Yes.
I'm telling you, it will pay off if you practice doing it the right way. These are my 10-minute tips. Thank you. Stay safe and stay at home.
Take care.